If you look at Google Earth off the northeast corner of Yellowstone Park, there's a big white patch. This is the largest unbroken tundra in the lower 48 states, called the Beartooth Wilderness, or for us, just the Beartooths. If I had a backpacking home, this is it. I've been hiking here for over 40 years. The main trail through this wilderness is called the Beaten Path. This is my 11th time to hike this trail with family and friends, and my 7th time with my kids, starting when they were age 11 and 13, now age 23 and 25. The first time, my brother and I carried 55 and 65-pound packs just to get the crew through here. Now they had their own equipment, they were cooking their own food, I was just along for the ride.
Let it begin! Let it begin!
What's the lightest starting weight we've had before?
About 34 pounds.
That's what I thought. Wait, really?
Yeah.
Another big change this trip, which is perfectly normal for this age, is the addition of girls on the trip. This particular girl was in for a big surprise. Part of this trip had been planned specifically for her. Also, my friend's son James had brought his girlfriend on the trip, so she was the other first-timer on this hike. Navigationally, the hardest part about this 28-mile hike is the first 100 yards.
I always get lost.
Guys! Guys!
The first part of this hike is a rather uneventful trip through the forest. If I mentioned I don't care for forests, this is probably the reason why.
And here we are, coming upon Kersey Lake. You know, this is the first time you break out of the trees and see something nice.
Yeah.
Where's the rest of the gang?
They're a little bit back with Matthew.
Okay. I'll wait for him.
Why we stopped halfway up the hill?
I'm waiting for you guys to catch up.
There you go. It is beautiful.
Say hi. I love this valley though. I thought they were further back. Let's go. I'll get them going across the bridge.
Yes, sir. He is using Matt as a vessel.
True.
Yeah.
So we are officially entering the wilderness area now.
I love that. That really tickles me pink. I heard you say that.
Yeah, I know. You picked that right up, didn't you? We have made it to Russell Creek.
Many years ago when I was young, this was as far as we got and made our camp here. It had been 6 hikes since I camped in this spot, but it still holds a bit of nostalgia for me.
Now, to everybody that thinks that I modify my video and film and pictures to make the sky bluer than it should be, look at that.
That is quite blue, my man.
It is that blue.
Up to this point, there are a few challenges on this trail. Maybe a few little up and down hills, but nothing serious. From this point on, it's almost all uphill. When everyone is about exhausted, we get to the bridge where we have lunch.
I should have known better. It is right here, my friend.
It's time to break it out.
Yes, sir.
You have to get a picture of me doing the pool cue tradition.
The first time I took James' father, Tim, on this hike, he found somewhat of a rock table with a little stone on it, which he proceeded to shoot off with his hiking stick. I've always enjoyed that little scene, and so we recreate it every time we go through here. One of many nostalgia points I have after doing this hike 11 times.
Yes, sir. Nice. That one's for you, Tim. That one's for you.
What happened?
Oh, that's some cool moss.
Ah.
If you find any more, let me know.
Yeah. Let's call it Kate.
Yeah, this will start any fire whenever you want.
Joshua reminds me of those trees off Lord of the Rings.
True. And the ant.
Yeah. He just kind of goes. And he just goes fast.
At last we were at the bridge, always a welcome sight. Time for a rest and lunch.
You're not missing a lens cutter, are you?
No, that would not be mine.
Yep.
After taking some time to relax and eat lunch, we packed everything back into our packs and got ready to tackle the long, steep uphill that we knew we were facing. This waterfall that we've been enjoying at lunch is actually the outlet of Russell Lake. This is one of the first really beautiful spots that you see along the trail, and from here on it only gets better. We will be seeing this lake again a little later on from up above. I don't have a lot of video from the rest of this day, so we'll have to settle for pictures. Here is another bridge that we cross on the way up with a beautiful little waterfall. Following that, there is a nice little cascade. This is getting high enough in altitude where we're starting to get into some of the really pretty wildflowers. So that's the first of those that you run into on this trip, but there'll be plenty more, believe me. Then there are a series of familiar spots that those who have made this hike before will recognize. What was different about this hike is when we finally got to our campground, it was occupied. That was bound to happen sooner or later, but for the last 10 trips we've managed to have our site to ourselves. This was likely because the bridge was out at the other end of this path and everyone was coming in from this direction, but more about that later. In the end, we had to settle for another camp, our plan B, but this camp was pretty beautiful too. End of day 1. Today was a play day, and you could tell we were already relaxing before we even ate breakfast.
I have to carve the powder out from the rock. The sooner we get back to camp, the sooner we can make those hash browns, the sooner they can get their dishes done. And you guys are going up to Bald Knob, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You guys going down to the lake?
Probably.
Yes.
In addition to just having fun sliding, this snow provided an opportunity for our new-timers how to properly handle crossing snow when it's encountered on the trail.
There, good practice.
We finally got around to making some breakfast before going and playing in the lake.
Zoe.
This lake has an island, and there is one particular spot where it's shallow enough to wade out to the island, so it's a particularly enjoyable place for us to go when we're here.
Just go for it.
After a refreshing dive, James and Alyssa decided to go join the rest out at the island. Alyssa, being a new timer, had never been out there before. While this was going on, I decided to climb Bald Knob Mountain, at least a little ways, to get some good perspective on the lake. Back in 2010, I had climbed all the way up to the top of this mountain in this path, but we then found that it was much easier to go around the other side. James and Alyssa and I hiked over the little footstep of the mountain to Ouzel Lake, and then followed the rocky climb up into the meadows above. I love hiking through these flower-covered meadows as much as climbing to the top of the mountain itself. So with one last look at our camp, Alyssa and James and I set off for the top of the mountain.
Hold it at your waist if you want, it's easier. And before you know it, you've done it.
Hello. You have made it.
Although there are higher mountains, Bald Knob Peak is high enough to give you that top-of-the-world feel, and the views from up here are fantastic. This is the view looking back down where we were playing in the lake. Then back to camp for dinner.
How long do you reckon this needs to sit, Steve?
There's rice in there, so I would let it go at least 10 minutes.
Okay.
With water running low, someone had to go fill the
That's
bag.
good.
Not a pleasant task.
That'll work.
But Alyssa insisted on doing her
Good job.
fair share, so she came down to fill the bag and bring it all the way back up to camp.
Process.
What a gal.
For what? Tell me for what?
Money. To test viability. There was a YouTube video I saw before I came.
With dinner finished and the sun going down, there's always one last task to do before we go to bed. That's the hanging of the bear bag.
Oh well, good enough. That'll work.
With this task done and the sun setting, we took a few more pictures and then headed off to bed. But as I was laying in my tent, I saw a red glow outside. That hardly ever happens in the mountain. So I grabbed my camera and ran down to the lake to capture a rare mountain sunset.
Our first campsite. First campsite's right over here, the kitchen area. We've got tent number 1 that was down there. Tent number 2, the fire ring. We got Steve, my lovely lady Alyssa, and myself. And right about now we depart. We will come back on the second installment of Did They Cross the Stream? We made it across the stream We went across down there at the waterfall, and now we're following keeper of the sacred towel, Steve. Steve, the man. And he will bring us to our next destination.
And we are entering into wildflower heaven here. Oh yeah. And this is where people usually stop and take pictures. Beautiful lake, island.
It's a picture of Steve attempting to take a picture. Alyssa has entered the frame. The beautiful campsite. Some know it as the watering hole. Some know it as the fishing spot. But we know it as home. We've got Steve and his lovely assistant, Alyssa, crossing the stream. One foot has already become wet. Waterproof boots is what Steve, the master hiker, recommends. Now we are safely across.
Hey, guess what? We're not in Kansas anymore. Oh, bluebell heaven.
We cross a little creek whenever we go this way, and I've crossed it many times. This time, curiosity got the best of me, and I thought, you know, let's just go check out and see what feeds this little creek. Is it a lake? Is there something up there? So we took our packs off and went to explore. Why not? We had plenty of time.
Oh yeah.
There's no reason to. We're up here to have fun.
Yeah. Well, I think he is having fun.
Just look at this little stream with all the flowers. I mean, that's just amazing. Yep, picture time.
Oh yeah.
You got it.
Oh yeah.
I love that one. Actually, that was Tim's. Took that from his video.
Really? He was probably like, I need any excuse to stop for 1 second. Ooh, a bee. Yeah, we'll take a photo of it.
And now, I love this because you come up and you get your first view of the snow-covered peaks.
Wow. I see.
That's starting to get into the really big ones that I was showing you from the top.
Granite Peak.
Yeah, Granite Peak and the Cathedral Peaks and all those. You're starting to see them. In fact, not the snow-covered one, but the one just to the right of it you can just barely see.
Yeah?
I think that is the Cathedral Peaks.
Oh, wow.
There's Steve behind the scenes, documenting this beautiful trip down the magnificent waterfall, witnessed by my beautiful lady, Alyssa. Right down there is where we came from. Here is where we are. And there is where we're going.
Now this is where the climbing starts. We're going to be doing a gentle uphill most of the way to Fossil Lake from here. A few switchbacks. There you go. I give you Fizzle Lake.
There it is, Fossil Lake.
Proving at least somebody had lunch at Lunch Rock. All right.
Listen, I am hard committed to eating all of the sausage that nobody else eats, so I need you to eat some more.
We finally caught up with the rest of the group at our old traditional camping spot at the base of Dewey Peak. In the past, this would have been our camp for the night, but today we had a different agenda, so this was just a lunch spot. After lunch, we went and saw a few of the sights. My favorite is what I call the Waterfall Convention. It is a special spot I found where one waterfall and several cascades join together into a pool that then flows on down to the lake.
Number 2. There's Steve right there. Lovely Alyssa.
Then it was time to pack up and move on. Our destination today was a place we affectionately called Tasha's Paradise. It is named after my niece, Tasha. She kept telling us about this place where there was a beautiful waterfall and a riverway and beautiful mountains all around. It just sounded like paradise, so we kept teasing her it was Tasha's Paradise. And one day she led us to the spot and we found it, and it was everything she claimed it would be. It was paradise.
You got it. As Steve makes it to the other side. Can I get a high five?
High five to you, man.
Heck yeah.
Tasha's Paradise is only about a half a mile from the Dewey Peak campground, so it didn't take us long to get there. The plan was to set up camp and then have plenty of time this afternoon to go explore all the wonderful beauties of Tasha's Paradise.
Yeah, it's the one thing that you could just never describe to anybody without them being here is mountain wildflowers. They're just breathtaking. Well, I've never really used it a lot. I bring it along just in case.
Steve's magic tent. It goes into that little bag and weighs almost nothing.
Just outside the campground is one of the most picture-perfect waterfalls I've ever seen in nature. Of course, the thing to do is to climb to the top of the waterfall, and if you do, you'll find another waterfall. And if you climb to the top of that one, there's this wonderful cascade where you can go swimming and climbing, and kids love to play here. If you go even higher, You'll find another waterfall and then finally a lake with an island in the middle. It is an absolutely gorgeous climb. We finally made it to the top and saw the view. It was a wonderful finish for our day, and after dinner we all went to sleep. Up until now, this had been a very traditional hike for us. The next thing we would normally do is just hike on down the valley until we came to the outlet. However, this year was different. This bridge that we had crossed so many times over the years was one of the casualties of the flooding in the spring of 2022. The loss of this bridge meant that we could not go out the normal way. This was an even bigger problem because the lake right above this one is Rainbow Lake. 2 years before, in 2020, my son's friend vowed that in 2 years he was coming back to ask his girlfriend to marry him at Rainbow Lake. How was he going to get there? So we came up with a plan to keep his promise. We would leave camp set at Tasha's Paradise and just day hike down to Rainbow Lake where he could do his proposal and then head back up to camp. After that, we would have to hike out the same way we came in. This is the last picture I have at this bridge, appropriately with my brother Dan on it. The big days started off with perfect weather conditions. After breakfast, we all packed an appropriate lunch for a day hike and headed on down towards Rainbow Lake. As usual, we split into 2 groups, with James and Alyssa accompanying me and the rest of them going on ahead.
There's no way she would go for a guy like me. I am gonna ask her to dinner. And, well, basically I made up in my mind then I was gonna at least get her to go on one date with me.
All right, so this is still the end of the Twin Outlets Lake. It kind of spreads out like fossil. And this is where all the water comes.
Oh, wow.
Here's the waterfall.
Oh wow, that's a deep fall.
Hey, the kids did stop down there.
Yeah.
That's our normal lunch spot. Let's go join them. You can see the waterfall much better from there.
Wow, that's good.
So now you can see the waterfall in full. All right, group shot in front of the waterfall.
No, we're moving on.
Oh, come on.
For 25 minutes already. Just finished a very long water break. I did take like a ton of pictures though if you want.
Okay. We'll take our own.
I love the orange lichen, man. It's like something you don't really see in nature too often.
I wouldn't doubt it.
We finally arrived at one of the most picturesque spots in the entire hike, Rainbow Lake Overlook. This was the site of the big proposal.
This is Rainbow Lake Overlook.
Yep.
You are here.
She said yes.
Yo.
We missed the big event, but judging by the speechless girl in tears, we correctly assumed that she said yes. You have to admire a guy that follows through on his plan 2 years in the making. After enjoying a good lunch in this amazing spot overlooking Rainbow, we headed back to camp. This is my 11th time hiking this trail, and I thought I knew it pretty well, but going the opposite direction made everything new again. You notice things that you never noticed before. One person didn't notice much of anything. She just kept staring at this rock on her finger.
Awesome.
We finally arrived back at our original Bald Knob campground, but this time we actually got the traditional camp spot. This campsite, it turns out, came with a curious mountain goat.
We will leave
I would not mind if you came up here and said hi. He's taking a dirt bath. They are climbers for sure.
I don't understand how.
He's like Milo.
As the sun began to set, we hung our bear bag and prepared to go to bed. The next morning we woke and packed up everything for our hike out, but not before looking at this beautiful view behind the campground that I know so well. I have spent many days and evenings up here looking at this view, but it never gets old.
Look who we have.
Beautiful.
You know what to do.
That
one's for you, Dad.
We made it out just before the rain and then drove through the beautiful Beartooth Highway back to Billings, where we met my brother and enjoyed the end to a wonderful trip.